You're listening to Episode 7 of the Inspired Entrepreneur's Guide podcast. Hey there, everyone. This is Darlene, your host of the Inspired Entrepreneur's Guide, the podcast that encourages new entrepreneurs and those entrepreneurs that may be in a bit of a funk to stop dreaming and start doing. Welcome to the show. So before I dive into this week's topic, I wanted to remind you that you can find the show on iTunes or Stitcher, so you can subscribe on either service, and when a new episode becomes available, it'll be downloaded right into your podcast stream. On to this week's episode. This week, I speak with Ruth Martin of Maplewood, VA. It was such a fun interview, and I hope you're entertained and inspired when you listen to it. Ruth sat down and spoke with me about her business. She also put on her mentor hat for a few moments and offered some sound advice for selecting the services you offer in your business. And finally, as someone that provides marketing support to her clients, she offered a great marketing tip that you can utilize. As soon as you finish listening to this podcast episode, you can utilize it in your business. So without any further delay, here's my conversation with Ruth Martin of Maplewood, VA. Ruth, it's great to have you on the show. Welcome, and I can't wait to discuss with you a little bit about your business.
Oh, thanks for having me, Darlene. You're always a treat to talk with, and I know we're going to have a good conversation for your listeners.
Yes, I believe so, and I hope so. So let's jump into the first question, and it's pretty basic. It's what made you decide to start your own business, and then a follow-up of what is that actual business?
Okay. Well, what made me start my own business basically was motherhood. And I had been working for a nonprofit organization as their director, and that nonprofit also included having a retail store, and I was the store manager, overseeing a staff of 40 volunteers. And when I took my maternity leave, I decided to go back with a newborn in tow. And we went back full-time, daily, and everything worked out pretty well. The board of directors had set a nursery up in my office, and all was well until my son began walking at the age of about 9 months.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to laugh. I'm just picturing this image in my head.
Oh, yes. At that point, I mean, we would do craft shows. We had the retail store. We would host live events in the location. It was a 2-story building. The upper stairs would have conferences. We had it all going. And nursery set up in the office, and I was a breastfeeding mom. And so if that was the time, you'd hang the little sign on the door. And everything until he started to walk. And I'm like, oh, my. I didn't expect him to start walking till a year. But he did at 9 months. Wow. Which was exciting as a mom, but not so much as a professional mom. So I gave a 30-day notice, and within 2 weeks, I had 2 different board members that I served with contact me, and they wanted me to come and work for their nonprofit organizations and be a part of that. And it was kind of like, well, I'm kind of leaving one situation to go right back into another. So one was the board chairman at the time, and I knew him really well, and he was the one that had the nursery set up in his own business and convinced me it would be possible in this business. And, we really had some heart-to-heart talks, and he was like, look, how about, are you interested? And I said, well, I would love to do the work, and I enjoy work, but, my first commitment is my family, my son. And he's like, what if we start doing it through the computer? And I would send you the work, and you just send me some emails. And I was like, oh, that would work because, it's more manageable, and I can do it during nap times or early mornings, evenings, whatever that may be. So here I started doing virtual assistant work, not realizing others did this, that there were organizations, associations, forums, thousands of people were doing this around the world, and I didn't know about it because I wasn't really on the online scene. Right. And I ended up accepting both offers from each respective board member. So I had 2 nonprofits I started doing virtual assistant work with, and I did that for about 6-7 years. And then the community college course schedule came in the mail, and I happened to realize that there was a virtual assistant course in it. And as I read this course,
oh, that's funny.
I realized that's what I'm doing. I'm a virtual assistant, and I didn't know it. So I started to really dig around and find more, and then I discovered virtual assistant networking, VA networking, and I met virtual assistant forums and IVA, and there were many others. And I was like, there is a whole world out there online.
Yeah.
And I got really, really serious and took the direction of my business and put it online, had a formal website built, went and created my business as an LLC instead of just running under an independent contractor with my Social Security number and my personal name. I got serious. And by that point, my son was starting kindergarten. And then from there, as he progressed through the grades, he's now in high school. My business has grown and grown as my time has become more available. So my business is Maplewood Virtual Assistants, and I have a primary focus in marketing because that's always been my background, or in retail. So project management, I've always been in management positions when I was an employee, and in consulting and in administrative support.
Awesome. There's a lot of takeaways from it. The biggest one, first, the question was, how long ago from when you first became a virtual assistant, when you didn't know it was a virtual assistant? How many years ago was that?
That began in 2000. So
okay,
15
so
years.
it was still a pretty
starting
new
my 16th year in August.
Wow. Congratulations. Oh, the anniversary is coming up. Congrats.
My anniversary is coming up.
That's awesome. The second thing is how accommodating that the business originally was with the nursery. I mean, that, I feel like it's something rare nowadays. Most people will say, well, why don't you try working at home? Or I think the job pool is so full now because of how things went with the unemployment rates that people are just kind of like, well, we'll find someone else. Not for everybody, but I feel like, wow, that was really accommodating, and you kind of, I don't want to talk time out here, but you stepped in something really good there.
I have been really fortunate throughout all of my employment careers and through my business career that I've created, because I've always had opportunities where skills are building on skills. I've met the right people at the right time to open up doors. And the president of the board at that time his business was 3 doors down from where this nonprofit business was at. And so I could easily pop down, and he was just fabulous about stepping in, and if he really needed to brainstorm something, it worked out. But he also saw I came into the nonprofit at the beginning of year number 2. The first manager launched it, went through all the founding things, and served 1 year, and then she stepped away. I stepped right in, and bringing all of the marketing background that I have with me, I'm real proud to say that we were able to pay off a $150,000 loan in full.
Wow.
Plus had a profitable year within 2.5 years of the organization launching.
That's
and he was
amazing.
like, this is just amazing. So, we've done those kinds of things that were really cool, and then he's done those in his business. So it was kind of like, let's try this. I think it's going to work. I had been with the organization probably 4.5 years when I became pregnant, and then I served, like I said, 9, almost 10 months after that. So it's just pretty cool.
Now, for the 2 that you then ended up working for once from home, longevity speaking, are either of those still your clients? Just curiosity.
I worked with one for 6 years, and then I worked with the other for 4.5. The one that I worked with for 4.5, my mother had some health concerns, and we had some thoughts that she might have breast cancer, and so there were some surgeries and biopsies and things like this. And when she was going through that, she needed a little bit more care, and I was working on a part-time basis with them. And so I went ahead and had given notice, and we parted ways on good terms, and we still maintain contact and so forth, but they stopped being my client. The other one that I stayed with for 6 or 7 years, they had some internal changes as the economy started to take the decline a few years back, they decided to switch from using me as someone they were outsourcing to go back to more internal.
Yeah.
So that they could make certain that their internal employees had incomes. Because some of the people were there, that was their sole income. So what they did, it was kind of unique, is they told me, they said, we need some internal things. We're making some changes. So instead of outsourcing, but we want to keep you around if you're willing. Would you come back and work for us as an employee on a part-time basis, 2 or 3 days a week? And I did, because I had been with them for 6 or 7 years. And they're just down the street from me, even within walking distance. So I went and I did that. And I stayed with them for another year or two until my virtual assistant business, because by that point I had launched it online. And it didn't take long for me to really grow my virtual assistant business online, pretty large. So I stayed with them probably another year and a half maybe. And then I went ahead and had given notice and we parted ways. But over the summer, last summer, my son went down and did volunteer hours with them for his high school credits. And I shot
that's
all
awesome.
the time. And it was kind of funny when I had my key to get into the facility, they needed some computer support and IT support, and that's what my husband does. He has a home business in that realm, but then he also works full-time for his employer. And so we ended up transferring my employee key to my husband, and he does all their IT support, and he's been doing that for probably 6 or 7 years now.
Wow, that's
so
funny.
It's all in the family, and I still keep talk to him all the
awesome.
time. And that's a real blessing when you can move in and out of how you support your clients, whether it's as a service provider or as a client, or as a customer, rather.
Right, absolutely. And having those relationships and even parting ways and maintaining those relationships is super important, and I think sometimes gets overlooked. So that's really neat too. Now I want to kind of focus back on your business, and so kind of think back to the days when you started your business and where you are now. So right now you offer business management, consulting, marketing, copywriting, and admin support. So my question is, when you first started, was that your direction, or did it change over time? So did you know, okay, this is what services I'm going to offer, or did that expand or maybe like decrease over time, like the options that you provide?
It's pretty much maintained the same. Those are my strengths as employees, and that's my skill set, and that's what I could bring to the table. So that's where it's come as a virtual provider. The one neat thing about marketing is there are so many mediums in the marketing field. There's so many ways to market online. So if anything, I would say it is scaled up and down as new marketing mediums trend. For example, when I first started, social media was out there, but it wasn't as popular, and now everybody has a Twitter and a Facebook account, and they're on LinkedIn and Pinterest and Instagram, and the whole spiel. So I would say it's scaled as the demand, and people don't read the newspapers as frequently on the radio. They get their news a lot of times online. So again, you really want to have an online presence when you're marketing, more so now than ever before.
So you mentioned that they're your strengths, and I think that's very important to offer services where they're your strengths, and they're also things that you enjoy doing, because it's just important. So I want to kind of switch thoughts, but still on the same topic. So you're also an IVAA mentor, which is International Virtual Assistants missing a letter. No, Association. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, you got it.
You're a mentor for them, and you mentor new and aspiring virtual assistants. So let's put your mentor hat on now for a moment and talk a little bit about niches and services. What would you tell someone if they came to you and said, well, Ruth, I really don't know what to offer
my clients or what niche I should choose? Should I just be everything to everybody? What do I do? What would you say to them?
What I usually tell that person is first make a list of all your skill sets. Good, bad, everything, what you like, what you don't like. Well, not necessarily what you don't like, but what you're really good at and what you're really excellent at. Out of that, take a look and see if there's some natural groupings for those skill sets. And then from that, I believe that a niche can be an industry-driven niche or it can be a service-driven niche. And the difference is if it's industry-driven, then you're a specialist in that industry, knowing the nuances of how that industry works. For example, if you're working with an attorney, you would need to know the various court filings, the processes, and the order that those filings must go in are very specific, and scheduling of claims and things like that are all unique nuances to what an attorney would need. And so that's an industry-driven niche. If you are a services-driven niche where I do the marketing and the copywriting and the admin support, the project management. I may have clients that are attorneys or web designers or authors or professional speakers. My client base is very varied, but the service that I offer is very consistent. I'm always doing marketing. I'm always doing copywriting, in that sense. So based on that person's strengths and their skills and what they have to offer, that may help them know instantly, oh, I can work in this industry and do just great. I may need to take some refresher courses and learn a little bit, or if I have an interest in social media, I've never done it, I may need to seek out some courses and take that or talk to some others and see.
Great. So the main takeaway there is to first get that list going, see what natural groupings are, and then determine whether it's a niche for an industry or for a particular service. I got that right? Pretty much?
Yes.
Okay, great. So now I want to ask you a fun question. This is one that I always love asking people that I speak with, because I never really know what the answer is going to be. So what is the best thing about being a business owner?
Oh, for me, the best thing are the variety of people that I get to meet and the variety of projects that come across my desk. I absolutely love that I'm not doing the same thing every day or even the same thing week after week. Each person's unique. They're trying to reach their own target markets. They have different goals. And I really, really like the variety. Awesome.
Well, I have one final question, and here it is. As a virtual assistant providing marketing services, one of your areas of services, to business owners, what's one marketing tip you can provide to a new business owner or a listener to this podcast thinking about starting a business that they can implement today?
That tip is going to be to never stop marketing. Marketing is scalable. And if you are in a dry patch, that's probably because you weren't doing your marketing previously. So you always have something going on. And I've had clients that have very successfully marketed their business, and we've worked on strategies and plans to the point that they're going like, it needs to stop. We can't take anyone else on. We're bursting at the seams. We need to stop. And I said, well, no, you need to scale back, but we don't stop ever, because there's no guarantees that a client will always be with you. When the economy took the turn, people were really starting to feel it. And sometimes as virtual assistants, we didn't feel that immediately because they were letting go of in-house staff, turning to virtual assistants. So we got that a little bit delayed. But the neat part was that we got the business. And then as the economy started to recover and in-house staff started to be hired on, then the virtual assistants started to be like, oh, I just lost a client because now that, they're hiring in-house staff again. They don't need me anymore. And I haven't marketed myself in 2 years. What do I do? And I have calls like that. And I was like, you always need to be marketing of some sort. And the neat thing is when you sign up on my mailing list on my website to get my newsletter, as my free gift to all subscribers, the next link after they confirm that they're on the newsletter is they get taken to an audio that I have about marketing, and they get a list of 54 marketing mediums. And 32 of those are online marketing options, and 22 of those are offline marketing options. So regardless of which type of business that you have, there is a marketing medium for you. So when you're scaling down, you can just do, pick 2 or 3. If you want to scale up, say business is a little lean, you really want to bring some clients to you, you want to be a little more noticeable, we just add in a couple of additional options. So always be marketing in some way or another.
Absolutely, and I need to follow that. Those guidelines.
Well, just sign up on my list.
But this episode is not about me. And I did sign up for your newsletter, and I have that list bookmarked, and I'll include a link. Do you have a direct link to the actual landing page, or is it just go to your website and sign up?
It's just on my website on www.maplewoodva.com, and you'll see it right on the home page that you can just sign up for the list. And if they happen to follow me on the Facebook business page, there's a link on the business page as well. The best part is on the list. And then I put some couple of PDF forms there, so you can take a look at that, and then you have the audio as well. So just a couple of little gifts. And I do that with my newsletter. If there's something going on, my newsletter is first and foremost to get my news and get my little freebies before I open it up to the public.
Thank you so much for being on the podcast. I have a feeling we could just keep talking, but
we do have a tendency to do that, don't we, darling?
Yes,
that's a good
we do.
thing. That's a very good thing. So thank you so much for inviting me to have conversation. And if you have any questions, or if your listeners do, please reach out to me. I'm happy to do my best to help you out.
Thank you, Ruth, for being a guest on this episode. It was a joy having you. You can learn more about Ruth and connect with her through her website at maplewoodva.com. Remember, you can find show notes to this episode and for all of the past episodes that have aired at dvpodcasts.com. And don't forget, you can connect with me on Twitter at Darlene Victoria. I'd love to hear from you either on Twitter or through my website. Send me feedback, questions, or just send me a note to say hi. I'd love to hear from you. I will be back in 2 weeks with a brand new episode. Until then, remember, stop dreaming and start doing. Be inspired by the most important person in your life, you. Thanks for listening. This is Darlene Victoria, signing out.